When I was 9 years old, my father committed suicide. He had been suffering through depression because of, his parents separating, my mother leaving him. He was going through it all, basically. And so he committed suicide. He hung himself at work by a tree and a shoelace. And so at 9 years old, my other sister was 5 at the time, and then I had a 2-year-old sister. My mother hadn't worked a day in her life, so she had to learn how to work multiple jobs to be able to take care of the family. Now 3 kids on her own without my dad being around. So that was kind of an experience that's really played a big impact on my life. I think had I been chosen to be a little bit more open, unfortunately I was just a little more reserved. Again, I don't like to see others in pain. So I don't want to share pain that's in turn going to help hurt others. Which is why I never told my mom about how I felt or my sisters about how I felt, because I didn't want them to cry. I don't want them to hurt. So if I had any feeling, I would either be in my room and cry it out, or just try to find some way where I didn't have to talk about it with anyone. Suicide, I think, in general is one of those taboo type of topics. Many people don't like to discuss it. Spanish people, people of ethnic culture, they will say, "Oh, well, he's just crazy. He was just crazy." The cultural stigma that happens within Hispanic families, I think, often stems from lack of education, and also the resources, the language barrier, I'm afraid to ask for help. I don't know what to do in these situations. So it's not that they per se don't want the help. One, they don't know where to get the help and what help is offered, because it's either, again, a language barrier or a lack of education on where they can obtain these resources at. So as we go along, that's part of my goal, is to educate and say, just because a person is suffering from depression or a person has committed suicide or is having suicidal thoughts doesn't make them crazy. That's honestly, I don't like to use that word. I think it can be a very offensive word, but people use it without knowing what effect it has on someone who may be suffering. And until they see what effect it has, then they realize, wow, that's really, really not what I meant or my intention at all. So I think we have to open that dialogue, and once we do, I think you're going to see the cultural stigma start to fade away little by little. It won't go away overnight, but little by little, you'll see it begin to fade. I chose to be public because of the secrecy behind it all. Nobody likes to talk about mental health. No one likes to talk about suicide. No one likes to talk about people who have depression. You talk about breast cancer and you have a big breast cancer run. Great. That's an awesome, awesome opportunity. But where are we leaving those that are suffering from mental health, whether it's bipolar disorder, depression, mood disorder? There's so many things that encompass mental health. And for me, I figured that if I don't share my story, no one else will feel comfortable sharing theirs. And then in turn, get the world to open up and say, you know what? It's something we need to discuss and put at the forefront of what we're doing and where we're headed. So what can we do to invest money into mental health, into how to rehabilitate people who are suffering, who are going through these tragic incidents? So that's why I chose to share my story, is hopefully not only help people open up that conversation, that dialogue, but hopefully I saved someone's life along the way. I hope that someone said, you know what, wow, he did it, I want to do it, I can do it. And that's why I shared my story.